What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Teen Mom 2 star Kail Lowry and occasional guest star Vee Rivera have officially launched their podcast, Baby Mama's No Dramas. So I decided to listen to their inaugural episode. I don't know if I'm going to be making a habit of this because, listen, I didn't find it that intriguing. I just wanted to know what the kind of overall vibe was between the two of them. So I figured, listen, I already listened to it. I might as well do a little bit of a recap for anyone else who might be curious but doesn't want to spend, an hour or so listening to the two of them go back and forth. So, again, they seem to have really great chemistry and a very genuine friendship with one another, which is awesome. The only real major issue is it's not that compelling or interesting because so much of the info that they give already plays out on the show, and Kail is so messy that her stuff plays out in real time. So why wait for a podcast? You know what I mean? And although they have really great chemistry together, I wish they would stop speaking over each other. There would be so many moments where Vee was saying something and then Kail would start talking on top, or vice versa, where Kail's talking and Vee would jump on, and they would both just keep talking at the same time instead of someone yielding to the other. But anyway, in the intro, Vee low-key drags Kail when she introduces herself. She goes, "I'm Kail's first baby daddy's wife." And I was like, sis, you could have just said, "I am her son Isaac's stepmom," and left it there. But I see what you're saying. And that's the first of a couple other little instances that I interpreted as shade, even though I'm sure it was all in good fun. Apparently, Vee is the one who came up with the concept or the name of the podcast. She was just, home one night and she felt as though they could make a great podcast together. And she was just saying that. How sometimes you say that with your friend, "Ooh, we should do a podcast, a reality." People just say that. She was surprised to find that Kail was gung-ho about the idea. She's like, "Let's do it. Let's get this money." And it actually turned out that they were actually deliberating the idea of making a family YouTube channel back in the day, with their kids, Joe, as well. So, it really does seem as though their relationship is quite close, which is nice to see. In terms of the closeness of their relationship, Kail says that people need to stop asking when her and Lauren's relationship will be similar, because she says, "Listen, I grew up with Vee. We were kids when, we were trying to navigate our co-parenting dynamic. So it's just not going to happen with Lauren." And then they talk about how much it sucks that their kids now have opinions about when they want to be with mom or when they want to be with dad. And they say, "Listen, I would love to have this open door policy where it's kind of oh, something cool's happening at your dad's house or at my house, stay a little bit longer and then come back in the morning." But it's difficult with, how many moving pieces there are. And by moving pieces, we mean Kail's baby daddies. They also revealed that they didn't really have a relationship while Vee was pregnant. And Kail says, "You know what? That's probably because I was pissed off that you guys were moving to my neighborhood," which is so insensitive, because here Vee was pregnant, about to move away from her family, for the first time, and not having any support for her child because of Kail's whims and chasing this man down to Delaware and just, trying to be as difficult as possible, of a co-parent. Vee also said, "Listen, me and Joe were trying to get pregnant around the time that he decided he wanted to move to your neighborhood. So I asked him, I was like, dude, are you trying to trap me with a baby out here? To make sure I stay?" But I think it was a joke. And then she also says that she now loves living in Delaware and feels as though that is where they were all ultimately meant to be. Kail actually acknowledges that she is the mess among everyone, causing a constant tornado in their lives. And, Vee again hits her with a little bit of shade, and she goes, "Kail is that crazy cousin in your family where they're always in some kind of a mess, but you can't help but love them." Kail acknowledges a woman having texted her about being pregnant with Chris's child, and she says that her reaction that we saw on Teen Mom 2 was genuine, and that she would want to have a relationship with her so that the children, Lux and Creed, can be around their brother or sister. Two interesting things about that. Number one is that Kail never goes back and says that this woman was lying. So my tinfoil hat, was getting a little bit itchy up there. I was like, oh, maybe something did happen back here that they're not telling us about anymore. And number two is that Kail's relationship with Lauren is still on a non-speaking level. So why is she acting like this is her ethos when it's clearly not, or else she would put on her big girl panties and have a decent relationship with her son Lincoln's stepmom? right? Or soon to be stepmom if she ever does ultimately end up marrying Javi. The reason why Kail feels this way, and V actually feels this way as well, is because Joe once was really like hurt by V and Kail not getting along. And he said, oh my God, if something were to ever happen to me, it breaks my heart to know that my kids, Vivi and Isaac, would miss out on each other because you guys refuse to get along. Like, the fact that kids would miss out because of two adults just makes me sick to my heart and to my stomach. And so that really changed Kail and V's perspective about each other. And they did start to become friends from there, and they've never looked back. Joe does make a very brief appearance in the podcast to say hello there, and then the girls talk about how they would like for him to make a little bit of a cameo appearance once a month to talk about the father's perspective in these sorts of modern blended families. And then Kail says that she could never be a stepmom because she's already got three baby daddies, and she actually says, listen, we're gonna stop claiming I've got 3 baby daddies because it's not true. You know what I got? I got 2 baby daddies and 1 ex-husband. So I could see why she wants to draw that distinction there, because there is a very big difference between being a baby mama and being an ex-wife with a child with your ex-husband. So I get it. But she says, listen, that is a messy situation in and of itself. And so I just can't imagine dealing with the drama of someone who's already got, their own baby mamas as well. I'm like, that's all well and good, but listen, like, child-free people, why would someone want to go for someone in a situation like Kail first, especially young? Like, imagine you're under 30 and this woman is also under 30, but she's got 3 kids by 3 different men, and she wants to have a relationship with you. Honestly, if a guy came to me with that kind of energy, I would be like, are you serious with this? Because no, it's not happening. Like, I'm too young and too free to be buckling myself down in this sort of a relationship. I don't think that Kail is going to get what it is that she's looking for here. And so V encourages her to try dating women, turning to women a little bit more. And Kail kind of glosses over it. She just repeats what V says. She's like, yeah, you're always telling me to try dating women. Honestly, it seems as though Kail would much rather settle down with a man at this point in her life, just based on the conversation with V there. She just didn't seem that interested in dating women at this particular point in time. V also elaborates on how many times she and Joe broke up while they were dating, and I kind of was a little bit like, ooh, because I only knew of them breaking up that one time they talked about at a Teen Mom reunion where V said that they broke up for a month. But wow, it seemed as though they were breaking up like every other month or something like that. So I am quite surprised that they are still together and that they ultimately wound up getting married, because it seems like they've got a very tumultuous relationship, but hopefully they have mellowed out over the years and are a lot less up and down. Another little bit of tea that V spilled was that she was actually dating other people while she was shooting that music video with Joe. Remember, it's that music video that was the catalyst for their romantic relationship. She was like, listen, I was single and keeping my options open. And then through the beginning of their dating phase, which is very normal. So, I'm not going to fault her for that at all. I just thought that might be interesting to some of you guys, because I at least thought that they just, were inseparable from that one moment. I didn't know that that wasn't the case. It was a slow burning relationship. She said that Joe always wanted to have a girl and that he wanted to name his daughter Brooklyn. And then she and Kail both talk about how much they hate the name Brooklyn, which I'm sure probably offended quite a few people named Brooklyn or with children named Brooklyn. But what can you do? I think we're all free to share our opinions in life. And she actually talked about how she was a little bit hesitant to seriously date Joe because he had a son named Isaac. So at first she goes, oh, he's just one more person to love, and why not? I was always around kids and stuff like that as a kindergarten teacher and blah, 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 daycare teacher. But then she also says that at first in their relationship, she wasn't thinking seriously about being with Joe. She was like, listen, we were young. I was never thinking this was the person I was gonna marry or anything like that. I was just having fun. But then as things got more and more serious, I realized, this is a big deal. And so there were times when I had to kind of think long and hard about whether or not this, stepmom role was something that I really did want to commit to at that certain point in my life. And as we head to the end of the podcast, V says that Isaac keeps asking for a sister, and she keeps telling him to go ask his mom because she is good at popping out babies. Child, that is the third little hint of shade that she was throwing at Kail, and I just kept on gagging. And last but not least, V says that she's not at this moment planning to have more kids, but if she is going to have another one, she would hope for it to be a girl, and that she would have to get a move on it soon, because she always said that she didn't want to have kids after 30 years old. I truly do wonder what it is with the teen mom world, people, and like not having kids after 30, acting like that is a death sentence or something like that. I don't know what it is. I mean, like, I could understand if they say not after 35, because there is a lot of like kind of propaganda peddled against it, saying it's like a geriatric pregnancy and that pregnancies are dangerous after 35, blah, blah, blah. But 30? Really, guys? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. It just comes across as very like, I don't know, I don't want to be rude, but like ignorant to me, that people are just in a rush to have kids before they're even financially stable. Like Joe and V were not financially stable when they had Vivi. Remember, Joe was begging Kail for more child support so he can buy an air conditioner, and he wasn't working at that time. And, of course, V wasn't working at that time because she was having the baby. So to me, it's kind of like odd that someone's primary goal when it comes to kids is having them under a certain age versus being financially stable and having something to offer them. I don't understand that line of thinking, but I digress. We are all different in life. By the way, Joe and V are currently working on finishing up the final renovations to their home so that they can sell it and build their own from scratch next. Anyway, you guys, that is a recap of what went down on Kail and V's inaugural podcast episode. Their podcast is called Baby Mama's No Drama. As usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.